Kyle here from All Media Reviews. Here to do the last of the letter B for the CD A to Z series. I was gonna do the it by by actual rack, but it's like these fragmented letters and stuff like that. So all right, I may as well just get into it. So yeah, I have three CDs from this band. This is Canadian sort of, I wouldn't call it a super group exactly, but it kind of is. It's like a very collaborative, groups like some of these bands, indie, alternative, but with leans of post rock and stuff. Broken social scene. So I've got the debut album, Feel Good Lost, which came out in 2000. Let's say it was 2002, 2003, somewhere in that range. Chamber instrumentation. Brendan Canning and Kevin Drew are the two primary guys, but there was just other people that were in this band, including Feist and some other, but on this album. Anyway, this album, it's okay. I did not return to it that much. I remember when I was getting into them a little bit, but you can see there's the picture. Um, I didn't like post rock. I didn't like really much of any of it, and I call this post rock, but it's with vocals, with chamber instruments, stuff like that. But this one, from memory, is a little more stripped down than some of the stuff that they did later. So that was 2003. Feel Good Lost from Broken Social Scene. So then, I think that if I'm not, well, that's interesting because this album came out in 2003 as well. I should know my Broken Social Scene history better, but I'm pretty sure this was their debut album. Anyway, the album that I also have is You Forgot It in People. Now there's multiple covers. This is like the later cover that came out. You Forgot It in People, and this to me is their masterpiece. Although a few years back I revisited this and felt like it wasn't as good as I thought, and then I listened to it again like a year and a half ago, and I was like, it's filled with a lot of good songs on it. It's very sort of almost conceptual in some ways, but and I think the roster is like when they had Feist, they had Emily Haynes from Metric was in here, and there were some other people in the in this roster, but yeah, it's a fun, energetic, very playful kind of atmospheric record. They use some samples. Yeah, Leslie Feist, there we go. Who I like Feist. My wife likes Feist even more. I think she put out a record this year. I haven't really followed her in many years. Um, anyway, this is to me my favorite still among the records. But people are like, well, they're not post rock. It's like, well, what is post rock anyway? To me, it was like the explosions in the sky kind of stuff, which just sounds like sort of waning, kind of dragged out guitar atmospheres, kind of like soundtracks. But this was a different kind of sort of use of instrumentation. It wasn't rock music exactly, but it worked better, and they used some different time signatures, some multiple vocal styles. It is progressive in a lot of ways. Anyway, You Forgot It in People from 2003, I think. So then I also have the one that followed it, the self-titled Broken Social Scene album from 2005, which I remember when I got into You Forgot It in People because that was the first one I checked out. This one I like, but not as much. But I would probably put this above Feel Good Loss. So, but yeah, I should do a video on them, produced by David Neufeld. I should revisit this record because this is the one I haven't. I can't like. I know they've played some of this, like the college radio stations and even the National Public Radio affiliates, like our station, The Current, has played stuff off of this and off of that. They played stuff off all their records, but I know a lot of people think this album is better in some ways, even though You Forgot In People is the one that probably gets the most credit. So yeah, I bought this in 2008. So anyway, that's the self-titled Broken Social Scene album from 2005 on CD. So that's the last one I have from them on CD. So then, okay, I've got two of their albums. I think the most recent one I have on vinyl, but I have the first two records from another Canadian band, Bruce Peninsula. This is their debut album, Mountain is a Mouth, from it was 2009. And then 2000, I'm gonna pull this out. 2000, was it 2011's? Uh, Open Flames. It has this is how one has Pull Me Under and tribal kind of very rhythmic, very kind of percussive at times, a lot of gang vocals. I found out about this band through the Mars Volta fan base. They have a little bit of a math rock element, but their singer, they're at least on these two records primarily, they're one of their main singers is guy named Neil Haverty. He sounds a little bit like Tom Waits, but um, I I've never got that much into Tom Waits, but anyway, this record especially, I'd probably lean toward this one as my favorite. The Mountain is a Mouth. It has crab apples and has Inside Outside, um, very kind of earthy, but Neil Haverty unfortunately ended up contracting a form of leukemia, and then it was kind of a minor miracle that this album came out, and I think he, at least it's in remission. I don't know. They put out that record a few years ago, but he's not as involved. He still is involved to some degree. Now, I'll also say they put out a one-track single EP per se, a 12-minute song called "Of Songs" from 2012, I think it was, which is better than anything on either of these two records. It's one of the best songs of the last 20 years. Very proggy. Anyway, their last record I like, but again I have it on vinyl. I have it on CD. I don't think it ever even came out on CD. But anyway, Bruce Peninsula from the area that's known as Bruce Peninsula in it's like Eastern Ontario. But anyway, the two CDs. So then I've got more than just the CD because I have one of the other CDs over there. They don't have the disc, but this is my copy. I showed it in the what have been the '79 albums of the year. Bruford, One of a Kind, which it has Hell's Bells on it. Having to revisit a lot of the Bruford stuff and not really feeling Alan Holdsworth like Alan Holdsworth stuff. I'm kind of less passionate about my Bruford collection music as I once was about 20 years ago when I was really getting into some of his stuff. But yeah, it has that Sahara of Snow Part 1 and 2, that suite. One of a Kind, the title track suite also. But I don't know. If I'm going to listen to Fusion, I'm listening to five other bands easy, five other artists. But, Bruford, I think he's best live actually in some ways. But, I don't know. Alan Holdsworth, it's not the only reason, but he's got other people, Jeff Berlin and stuff like that. But anyway, Bruford's One of a Kind, 1979, I have on CD. So here's probably the biggest portion of this. I can find it all. This part in the ending, the bees. This is I'm going to show now my Jeff Buckley compact disc collection, and it's quite a sizable. So I mean, they're not even in chronological order. So I'm just going to start going through it. So I have the Jeff Buckley yeah, I have the Jeff Buckley Grace EPs. A second here. Get something here. This I got from this is like the first thing I ever heard from Jeff Buckley. Got from the library, but it's a collection of EPs which I have individually too on CD. Peyote Radio Theater, So Real, Live from Bataclan, the Grace EP, and Last Goodbye. This EP for that song. This came out, I want to say, after Grace. It might have been like sort of a thing. It's like, well, some people want more of it, and the label was kind of milking it. But yeah, so all right. So here's my standard copies of Grace. This is the standard copies. What I have, I think I have actually another one. If I can, trying to organize this. I didn't organize this beforehand. I wish I had. No, I don't. Okay, so I don't actually. I thought I did. I swear I did. Well, anyway, this is just the original deluxe edition I got, which includes the second disc is fantastic. It has the Dream Brother alternate take, and then it has, where is it? Kangaroo, of course. That's a cover, as I later came to learn. But Kick Off the Jams live, the cover of the MC5. The Dream Brother Nog Champa mix. That's where you get a lot of your money on the second disc. The first disc, of course, is the standard, which has, Eternal Life. This also comes with a DVD, but Eternal Life, Last Goodbye, you just, So Real, the title track, of course, and just off the top of my head, just remembering every track on Mojo Pin, Hallelujah, of course, love, all the, everyone who knows Grace knows almost all these songs. A number of them are actually covers though, but Not all of them. It's like maybe a third of them or something like that. But Lost Highways on the second. There's Alligator Wine. There's just a lot of interesting tracks on this, and it's essential if you really like Grace, you need to have this version of it. So I got a second version because you look at the condition of this, and it's like kind of marked up and stuff. Um, so then I have the deluxe edition of Live at Chennai, which is also another kind of classic live. I have both those on vinyl. I have this on vinyl too, but this has all the little talking points, and it covers like his cover of Led Zeppelin's Night Flight, and some of these the Nusrat Fateh Ali Khan and Edith Piaf. There's just that Jina Kona Palafin. It's got an interview. It's these are it's a deluxe edition, so it's going to include a lot of stuff. This is a promo. The Shanae live album, which is it was like a 6-track EP that came out in 1990. Was it 91, 92? They expanded out, of course. They've been kind of milking him and his mother, but Strange Fruits on this. Just like a woman calling you. It's great. You get a sense about him. It was just him at the cafe, but it's like an hour and a half or whatever. So with all the little in between tracks, banter and stuff. So now let's see here. I've got an individual copy of the Live at Bataclan CD, which I don't know if there's a difference between this and what's on the Grace EPs, but you'd see Jeff stuff frequently. I was like, oh, pick it up at Jeff Buck. I don't have that one. Pick it up. And I've got, of course, which came out on vinyl this past record store day. I think it was past record. Songs for No One with 9192, Jeff and Gary Lucas, which I like this. It has some early songs like Satisfied Mind, some and Mojo Pin, so it's Gary Lucas playing with some of his early songs he was working on. She Is Free. It's got some covers on it. It's got Grace Live. Um, I've been meaning to spend more time with it after since the record store day version. I listened to some of it. I remember right before record store day, right after I got it back last April. But anyway, came out in I think it was late '90s. It might have been after he passed away. I can't remember. Again, they were just he became the martyr. Yeah, it came out in 2002 actually. So, but I came out. I learned that it came out on vinyl actually. After originally that's the first that wasn't the first time they'd actually issued it on vinyl. So I have the Live at Olympia import CD. I mean, he toured the US for like the globe rather for like 2 years supporting Grace. So there were a lot of live recordings of him, and then of course he had Mr. Rightboard, which I'm about to show. But Kick Out the Jams, Dream Brother. I mean, a lot of the track lists are the same. There's some different stuff on that. That's All I Ask. He does a cover of Kashmir. God, I can't remember what that's like. Just like Jimmy Necco did recently, of course, and Kevin. So that's another. You connect back in New York City with Kevin. He also covered Kashmir. So, but yeah, Live at Olympia. It's a full set. I think it's in Paris also. Le Olympia rather. And then I have of course, I think this might be my only one. My copy of Sketches, My Sweetheart the Drunk, which for my money, I like this slightly more than Grace because it has songs like Everybody Here Wants You, Nightmare by the Sea, New Year's Prayer, Vancouver, You and I. It's a double. I mean, they are demos. And there's a difference in the demos. And then I have this on vinyl too. I don't know, just from a songwriting and performance, even though I'm sure the finished product would have ended up quite a bit different, at least somewhat different in the track list. But Back in New York City, his version of Back in New York City is definitely different. It's totally different arrangement, different style. It's barely a cover actually, but in that sense, it was interesting, more interesting. Jewel Box Satisfies Minds on this. Haven't You Heard? I know we could be so happy, baby. I think that might be if we wanted to be. That might be a cover too. But anyway, yeah. I mean, it's because Grace to me I love, but I feel like it's sort of been beaten to death to a degree. Whereas these songs all sound fresh, and he was definitely changing some of his approach to songwriting. Some of the guitar textures he's using. It was less acoustic at points, and more driving, more lyrically inspirational at points, and not as many covers. So, but who knows how this album would have come out actually. It is technically demos, but I love it. But it's kind of splitting hairs. I still like Grace a lot. It's still one of my favorite records of '94. So then I have the Last Goodbye EP, which is also on the Grace EPs, and Has Kangaroo and Lost Highway, and then a live version of Mojo Pin and an edit of Last Goodbye. If only I could find as much Kevin rarities as I find Jeff Buckley rarities, but Jeff become more famous than Kevin Gilbert, unfortunately. Um, so okay, we got like 4 or 5 more left, and I can wrap this up. The last one, of course, is kind of special. So I have the Peyote Radio Theater. So I almost have two versions of the Gracie piece. I have all the individual and I have the box set version. But the Peyote Theater came out in '94. Also, it has Mojo Pin, Dream Brother, and Kangaroo. This has the Dream Brother Naga Champa mix, which you find on the Grace, the Legacy one. But interesting artwork. Peyote Theater, wherever that was, Columbia, on Columbia, Sony Music, of course. It was in New York. Of course, he was in Southern California, and then he moved to New York, and that's where he recorded. He was recording did the live in Chennai and everything. But and then I've got the So Real single. I believe that's what this is, and it has the title. Obviously, the track So Real from Grace, and then it has a live and acoustic in Japan because he toured all the way in Japan. Then Last Goodbye also in the same performance, I would guess. So, and then I've got The Last Goodbye, which is a fantastic track off Grace, of course. And I'm not sure what else is on this besides that. Just the edit and the full version, really. So it's really just, it's like having the Toy Mayonnaise singles rather. But yeah, I mean, for very extensive Jeff Buckley collection. And then I have, of course, his one besides the Sinead, one proper full band album that was taken from different shows. I believe Mystery White Boy, which also I have on vinyl, but it has Kangaroo, which is again that was a cover, but I love his version of Kangaroo. Eternal Life, I Welcome It. It's got a few songs that weren't on Grace, but a lot of the Grace stuff, of course. Mood Swing Whiskey, Man That Got Away, and he's got Holloway, Know It's Over medley. I think this was in Chicago. A lot of it was taken from Chicago. I know there's a DVD that I have, and this thing doesn't want to open. That's like live in Chicago, but I thought Mr. White Boy, some of it was taken from that. But it's a little bit like Rush's, like a show of hands, where it's like different parts of the world. The live recordings were from. They synced it up well. So then the final one is not a Jeff Buckley piece, of course, and I've talked about this in shows a few different times, but it's one of Jeff Buckley's personal compact discs that was in his collection. I have his copy of Led Zeppelin 4. Could go in the Led Zeppelin collection. It's just Led Zeppelin 4, of course, which I'll be showing my Led Zeppelin collection when I get to the L's at some point, probably like 6 or 9 months from now. It's like 6 months from now, maybe 3 months from now. But yeah, it's got the stamp approval from Mary Gabert, and from his estate. I don't know when it was. It was almost 20 years ago. It was this little thing they were doing online through Jeff Buckley's website and the message board. I haven't gone to that message board, still around, but yeah, it's even got it on the back too, if you can see it. Little circular stamp right here. So I still have the envelope and everything, and the little certificate that they gave me still. I don't know, Mary Gabert probably did personally. So I've got 2 more discs left to round out the Bees, and it's from one of my favorite bands that I wish they're together, but they haven't put out an album in 16 years now. The Swedish progressive sludge metal band Burst. I think it was their second album, maybe the third album, Origo. Their first album or their first 2 albums were more sort of post-hardcore, pure sludge metal, but this is their album from 2005 off Relapse Records, Origo, which is more progressive. But I haven't listened to this in a long time. I don't revisit it as much. I should go back. I always liked this, but I didn't get into it as much as the one that followed it, which is their masterpiece to me, which I have on vinyl too. 2008, the Lazarus Bird. This is unbelievable, and it's, as I've said, this is like the best album that Mastodon wished they would have made that is better. And there goes my CD, of course. I'm glad I got it on vinyl. So, all right. So yeah, Lazarus Bird came out in 2008. Songs like I Hold Vertigo, Cripple God, We Watch the Silver Rain. This is a masterpiece in just sort of atmosphere, riffs, sort of crazy kind of molding of just like, this where progressive metal can go. I mean, it's got those just goosebump moments. There's a couple very big King Crimson moments on here, and the vocals are kind of with Burst. They're kind of an acquired taste to some degree. They are technically clean for the most part, but they almost sound kind of like these. I don't say he's constipated, but they're they're a little bit of a grating thing to get used to at first. But I was floored by this eventually. I was like, and because I had heard, come to think about it, I had heard this record before I heard this. I know I'd heard them because I was like, I checked out Birds, I'd heard about them, and then I was like, wow, this is like really good. um, I think it's really grown, like sort of aged really well. Like I think initially when it came out, not that people were that into it, like people that love Neurosis and um that kind of the earlier Burst stuff. I don't think they really got into it, but then over time, it's like, this is they really hit all cylinders. They did a little tour and they broke up, and then they got back together. It was like 6 or 7 years ago. They did one of the Prague festivals they played. I think it was B Prague, my friend, maybe I can't remember which that was. I think it was that one. And they've sort of done some gradual shows, and they've been active on like Instagram at points the last 5 6 years, but no new material. I don't know. It's a matter of time before they finally want to record something new, but I don't know. So that's it for the bees. And I think I'm gonna be at least taking the pace as this is going really slow, anyways. But a little bit of a left turn. I want to start the progressive art rock series, the history of modern progressive art rock series. I also have another idea. My wife's saying like spinning called Spinnesota, but I've never done. I've shot some footage, but never done a series. I know Dave from Fairly Secret Music has done some of it. Where it's just showing the record stores in the state of Minnesota. And so I was thinking I just go, and there's a new cheapo location, go there and shoot 5 10 minutes, 15-minute tops, just showing this record store, um and then doing a series, because there's probably like at least 20 25 record stores I could go and show, and they probably wouldn't mind. But this guy unfortunately doesn't work, so I need to buy a new one of these. Of course, need to get a new one, acquire a new one. But got this in 2014 when I started YouTube. So I don't know when that's going to be. It might be next year sometime, maybe earlier, depending on maybe like a holiday gift or something like that. Because they can. I don't know if you can get a deal on. There's a few places to look online, and there's this place called National Camera and Video that has probably more selection than some places. But hopefully that's my goal, because shooting it on my phone just isn't probably. It's not going to be really. Going to translate. It's not going to work. I want to really do some like a relatively good shot video of record stores in town here. The ones in St. Paul, the ones in Minneapolis, and some of the suburbs. And of course, there's a lot of records that aren't open anymore, but a lot of new ones that have opened. There's one Minneapolis that I haven't been to that's run by this female owner. I forget the name. It's where the old treehouse was. But so anyway, that's about it for the bees. We'll go on to the C's at some point, maybe in the next couple of weeks. I don't know, depending on how much the Empire history calendar stuff goes. But thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time.